All right, so welcome to another episode of Kwentong Creatives, and today we have the Welsh singer-songwriter Jamie Miller on the show. You may have heard of him from his song "Here's Your Perfect," charting globally and garnering hundreds of millions of streams. It's all over TikTok too. And earlier this year, he released "Maybe Next Time" featuring OPM artist Moira De La Torre, which I really want to talk about later. And his new EP, "The Things I Left Unsaid," has been announced for release on October 4.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, dude. So this is your first podcast in the Philippines?
First podcast in the Philippines. I'm
Let's
excited. I'm
go.
ready.
Awesome. Yeah, so welcome to Kwentong Creatives, man. I think this is like a milestone episode. It's the first time we're having someone of a different nationality on the pod.
No way.
Yeah. But I mean that's kind of what the pod is about too. It's just like having the commonalities of
Yeah.
different creatives, even across borders.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm honored, man. Thank you so much.
yeah, so much to talk about today, and I think let's just start off like where you're at right now.
Yes.
You're in the middle of a press tour,
Yes.
and is it your first time in the Philippines?
My first time, yeah. I've always wanted to come here since Here's Your Perfect, but I think with the pandemic happening, like
Mhm.
it was such a weird timing of it, to one song to blow up. But I think it taught me a lot that this trip, especially, just realizing that there's real people behind the views on TikTok
Mhm.
and real people behind the likes. And I just did a busking in BGC
Oh
on
yeah.
Official High Street,
Uh-huh.
and I thought like 5 people were gonna turn up, and we got mobbed, and I was like,
Oh man.
what is going on? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's mind blowing, and I'm so excited to be here.
That's awesome, man. I saw this video of like this little girl coming up to you and singing.
Yes, that was in New York.
Oh, that was in New York. Okay.
Yeah, so my show got cancelled due to like technical difficulties and stuff. So they were outside my hotel, and she came up to me and she was like, "Can I sing Here's Your Perfect with you?" And I was like, "Of course we can." And then that kind of just went so viral, which was crazy. But yeah, I don't know. It's in a weird way. I feel like imposter syndrome because like I just see myself as Jamie, so normal, like. But now I'm just like, it's so weird to think that people know me and like my music. It's like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, especially going to a place that you haven't been ever, and then you come here, experience the culture, go to a new place, and
Yeah.
there's so many people who know your face and your songs.
Yeah, it's a trippy feeling for sure. But I got really emotional because I started off busking like before I was a signed artist. So to like go back to my roots, but to have people with their phones up screaming was a surreal experience. Yeah, I'm only here till Monday. Sadly, I don't want to leave, but unfortunately, I have to.
Yeah, I was telling Jamie offline to definitely come back for some beaches, for
Beaches,
some chill time.
absolutely,
Yeah.
dude. I love Manila. I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, and I think it's just because the warm welcome anywhere I go. It's just
Mhm.
like so nice. Like I go to a restaurant and everybody's so kind and catering. I'm just like, you guys are so kind out here and so talented too. Like I'm singing my songs and hearing people sing my songs better than I do. I'm like, what is going on? So cool.
Man, no, we love good singers here, good artists. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just like, something about the Filipino experience about hearing like like a good
People
a good
belt
song.
and just go
Yeah,
for it. It's
yeah,
just like,
man.
I love it. It's so cool.
Let's talk about your background.
Yeah.
Because I love to get some context with the guests on the show. You mentioned busking earlier, and you grew up in Cardiff in
Grew up
the
in
UK.
Cardiff. Yeah.
Can you tell us about what that's like?
Yeah, I grew up in Cardiff. Very normal background. Mum's a cleaner. My dad's a taxi driver. 2 sisters, and yeah, just had a very normal life. I think because it was so normal, I really turned to like music as an outlet. I didn't really grow up with a ton of money, but like it felt like I did. Like just because the way my mum and dad raised me was like just the most incredible way. They're the best humans ever. But yeah, I wasn't the smartest in school, so I didn't leave school with good grades, but ended up in a call center job after that. Ended up going on The Voice in the UK. My mum signed me up for it. And then after that, nothing really happened for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then Khloe Kardashian found me.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then my life kind of just went. And that's the quick story. But yeah, I've just been singing and dancing my whole life. And just to have that moment in life for like to go from a call center to The
That's
Voice
wild.
to nothing again, then to Chloe, and then to be a signed artist was just like it's been like a weird emotional
Yeah.
roller coaster for sure.
Yeah, that dip after the voice is interesting. I want to circle back to that later,
Yeah.
but let's talk about your early influences. Like, when did you become a fan of music? Like, you say it was very a normal household, but when did like music first enter your subconscious?
There's photos of me holding a microphone when I'm like 3 years old. Like my
Mm.
mum and dad always just said that I used to be singing around the house, but it's funny because no one else in my family sings, not one
Oh yeah?
person. So I'm
Whoa.
I'm either adopted or just lucky. But yeah, it's
Were they fans of music at least?
oh, they had the best music taste. That's why I was so confused. Like when my mum and dad opened their mouth and I heard what came out, I was like, how do you have this music taste but sound like that? But no, they definitely introduced me to the greats like early on, Donny Hathaway, Lionel
Oh,
Richie, Motown.
oh yes, Motown.
Yeah, Whitney Houston is one of my favorites and probably the reason that I do want a belt nowadays. But yeah, they have the most impeccable music taste, so I thank them for that.
Here, Whitney Houston is like everyone's. It's like
Yeah.
karaoke god
Yeah.
level. You know, you see them
It's-
pick Whitney on the songbook. They're like, okay,
Okay, yeah.
Whitney, okay.
Literally, I was at a karaoke bar last night, and like people were right. So my karaoke is people don't sound good, but here I felt like I was watching the Grammys. I was like, what? It's so cool.
Man.
Yeah.
They're just trying to flex because
Yeah.
they knew like Jamie Miller was going to karaoke with them.
Yeah, well they were flexing.
Either that or everyone was wasted.
yeah, love that.
Okay. Well, so how did you start to learn that to sing? Like, when did you discover that? Like, yeah, okay, like you can actually sing.
This is actually a funny story. So I was in year 3, which is like primary school. I don't know how you guys do it here. And there was a sign on the hall, like the dinner hall door, for auditions for Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I had never sang at this point, like in terms of like serious, didn't know if I wanted to do it or whatever. But if I did audition, I got to skip math class. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Oh my gosh.
So the teachers taught us the song, and we went up in crowds of 4 and single line, and I learned the song. And when I opened my mouth, everybody was like, and I was like, oh, maybe there is something here. So after that, I just started loving it, and I think seeing one teacher's reaction just made me like really want to hone in on my craft. And I was only like, I don't even know, like 7,
Dude,
8.
that's a lot. Like seeing an adult who is impressed
Yeah.
by your talent as a kid, like that's a lot to kind of push you into
Yeah, and
trying
then-
something new.
After that, I just started like auditioning for stuff, and then I ended up getting scholarship offers at the age of
Oh.
like 9. I didn't ever take them just because like I just wanted like a very normal childhood, I guess, and I think, but like having really good offers from scholarship schools were like really cool.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how many creatives I've interviewed and their creative journey kind of starts off with avoiding math. You
Yeah.
know, it like kind of leads them down this path.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I'm not good at math. I'm not good.
What were you? Did you have any stage fright, or did you kind of enjoy the performance of it?
No stage fright as a kid.
Mm.
I took dance very seriously before singing, so I used to travel like the country back in the UK for dancing, and then I think singing just came natural because I went to like a theatre art school, so everything was like music based anyway.
Mhm.
Never shy. Weirdly looking back, I was never shy. I think that only started to come in this stage of my life because it's like
Interesting.
my own music and
Oh,
not
yeah.
covers or someone else's. So yeah, there's definitely times where I get stage fright or like nervous, but I think that's only because I really care about it.
That makes sense. I mean, when you're putting out your music, and especially like the personal stories, it's
Yeah.
a lot more like close to the heart. Right?
Yeah, and like, some reason, just like on this trip, I felt like my career up until this point, weirdly, I felt like I've been living it through someone else's eyes,
Mhm.
but I felt like the disassociation stopped when I came to Manila. Like I
Really?
finally just started realizing like, oh, like I'm doing it, and like people are really showing up for me. So like it's been like a weird like emotional journey this trip alone, just because I'm like, whoa, it's like I'm finally like allowing myself to like reap the rewards of
Wow.
the success that I've had, and I feel very grateful.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to catch you at this time.
Yeah, me
It's,
too.
right?
I'm like, I'm finally in my own body, which is really cool and weird to say, but very weird when your schedule
Mhm.
is so packed all the time. I think just having this moment is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for you it must be like this. The past few years have been this cycle of
Hmm.
like, doing press, putting out music, trying to adjust, and
Yeah.
you know,
And I think like with Here's Your Perfect, like taken like no one expected it.
uh
Like
huh,
I wrote that song maybe like 5 years ago, and I put it out like 2 years ago. I was told not to put it out. I was told that it wasn't gonna do anything. It wasn't gonna be a hit. It wasn't good enough. So like no one really expected it, and I think for me putting that song out was like I was like, okay, if it fails, it fails, but at least like I tried. And then it ended up doing what it did. So I was like mind blown at the experience. But I took a year off last year. I don't know if you've seen like social media, but
mm-hmm.
I think because no one expected it, my schedule got so busy, and I was like, no, there's no guidebook for an artist. Like something that takes off on TikTok, you just have to roll with it, and
Yeah,
then kind of just got overwhelmed by a lot of things professionally, friendship wise. So it took like 6 months to a year off last year. I was touring, but like music wise, I just needed to find Jamie again.
right,
So I went
right.
into like therapy, just because like I was just kind of just felt a little bit like lonely and depressed,
Mm-hmm,
kind of.
mm-hmm.
And it's weird because I look at celebrities, and sometimes you read stories in tabloids like, oh, they're being rude, or they're being shy, or don't want to talk to people. But I think last year I finally understood why. Do you know what I mean? Because I
Uh
feel
huh,
like
uh huh.
you have to impress so many people, then you have to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure people are getting fed and
Mm-hmm.
paid. And I think it was just a moment that I needed for this year, just to take
Yeah,
a little break
yeah.
and step back.
I mean, it is a really unnatural state to be in, to be that famous, like that many eyes on you, kind of
Yeah,
watching what you're doing,
yeah,
and I think it does take some self-awareness to make that call, to be
yeah.
like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna chill for a bit. I kind
Mhm,
of think that goes against convention, right? Because it
mhm.
thinks, hey, you're picking up, you should keep working, keep
Yeah.
putting out stuff.
And that's exactly like, and I wouldn't even consider myself like famous. That's that weird. That word is weird to me. But I think for like, just, yeah, like you said, it's just like we're going against the grain and taking some time to like make sure everything. Because like if you're not okay, then nothing's gonna be okay.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think, yeah, I just, regardless of what happened in the time that I took off, I just needed it for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, I want to circle back to that mental health aspect of it because I think that's really crucial for creatives.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just want to talk about what does it feel like? You mentioned busking in your hometown,
Yeah.
and you're busking. People are just going about their day,
Mhm.
just semi listening. Sometimes someone will come up, give a tip.
Yep.
What's it like now in contrast to like people like screaming your name and like knowing your songs and
Yeah.
stuff? That must be a
This
wild experience,
It
man.
is, honestly. I think artists in general, especially me, like I think there's so much pressure that comes with hits, and like if you have a hit, then you have to make another hit, and then da 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 da. And it's funny, on this trip, people are like impressed. They're saying like, "Are you nervous to like try and make another Here's Your Perfect?" And I think for me, like my answer is no, because I didn't really put Here's Your Perfect out to like make it make a billion
Mm-hmm.
streams. Like I just put it
Mm-hmm.
out because I loved it, and I put it out because that was on my heart at that moment in my life. And it's a wild thing to go from my hometown busking to now being on the other side of the world and people screaming my name. But um yeah, there's no, like I said, there's no guidebook, there's no in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah.
So I'm just winging it, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like everybody thinks I have my stuff together, but I'm just like, if you knew, like I'm just winging it, and I'm not as cool as everybody thinks I am. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Well, that's nice to hear, man. I mean, like, you still keep it humble, still keep it
Yeah,
real. I
definitely.
think that's like how the best, creative works come out. If you
Yeah,
just kind of, you don't get too full of yourself,
and it doesn't cost anything to be kind. You know what I mean? Like I'm so lucky to call
exactly.
this my job. Like what? Like
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
traveling on a plane to come
Yeah.
see people that like my music, and that's my job. It's like
Mm-hmm.
what? It's
Yeah.
weird. It's so mind-boggling, but yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
One of my favorite quotes was from Conan O'Brien. He said, put in the work, be kind, and good things will happen. I mean, it's so
Exactly.
simple, but
I
it's
love
just
that.
like, you just
So true.
treat people well, try to do the best work you can, and you're good, you know,
Yeah, I love that. But
right?
wait, what was that?
Conan O'Brien,
Yeah,
put in the work, be kind, and good things will happen,
there you
you
go.
know, right?
Amen. Love that.
Okay, I want to just touch up on the call center work too, because that's such an interesting aspect, and I think it's something a lot of Filipinos can relate to,
Oh,
because the
really?
industry here is huge, call center,
Oh, wow.
BPO industry, and I actually think we're in the same building as a call center. So like
No
on the
way.
way here, I saw people going to work or leaving work. I was like, hey, I'm actually talking to Jamie. He used to work at a call
Yeah.
center. Yeah, man. Like, what was that like? Was that your first job after school, or you
Yeah.
know?
Actually no. After school I was a server. I lasted one day. I was
Service industry. It's hard, man. Yeah.
dude, so basically, right. Okay, so I was a server and it was my first day on the job, never done it before. And in the UK, like at dinner, you serve people coffee or tea.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in charge of tea. But the guy wanted coffee, right? So I was going around the table and I gave him tea and he tasted it, spat it out. There's carpet, right? And he poured it all
Jeez,
over the
what
floor.
the heck,
And
dude?
I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want a job if this is what a job is. And so I walked out. And then my mum and dad got really mad at me for walking out. And then my sister was a manager at the call center. And I didn't really even have the qualifications to be at the call center. But because
Mm-hmm.
my sister was there, she was like, let's try it out. Let's see if you're good at it. And then ended up getting a job as the customer service manager. And yeah, it was my job for 2 years.
2 years. Oh.
Yeah, and I was the guy on the phone fixing your iPad and your iPhone.
Okay.
And I'd be like, hello, Tesco Tech Support, Jamie speaking, how can I help? And that was my job for 2 years. And I think every day I would scroll like the Daily Mail and like I would scroll like all these articles like on how to make it as a singer.
Wow, man.
And I think because I was so passionate and like so excited to like do music, I think the whole people in like on my team at the call center just like didn't know why I was looking at so many music articles. No one really knew I sang. And then one day no one was on the floor and I just started singing, right?
Mm.
But the intercom was on.
Oh shit.
So like my
Okay.
manager came up to me and was like, "What are you doing here?" Like, and I was like, "What?"
Wow.
And then he went up to my mum afterwards and was like, you need to do something with this kid." So my mum ended up signing me up for The Voice, and that's how that happened. But yeah,
That's a crazy story, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have really happened otherwise. I probably would have stayed there for the rest of my life just because I didn't really have any qualifications to do anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
That's
crazy.
crazy. Like so many chance encounters, even from that asshole who threw the tea. I mean, that's a red flag, by the way. If you treat any
Red
service
flag. Yeah.
to leaving the intercom on, I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy, man.
I think, like, I know this sounds so cliche, but when people say like everything happens for a reason, everything really truly does happen for a reason. Like, I didn't ever grow up thinking that I would be a singer or a musician. I just didn't think it would be in the cards for me. So it's like really cool to like finally be able to say that
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
I mean, I can imagine if you're going to work every day for 2 years in Cardiff in a call center. And,
Yeah.
like, who were you listening to at the time? Like, who were you a fan of?
I'm a huge fan of country music.
Oh,
So I
okay.
love this band called the Rascal Flats. They're just an amazing band. They're huge in America and everywhere, basically. But definitely them, Bruno Mars,
Of
Tori
course.
Kelly. They were like
Mm-hmm.
my jam playlist every day to work in my little beaten up car. But yeah, it was just honestly, this is the first time I've ever talked about this.
Oh yeah.
So like, this is like I'm
Oh,
like it's like
awesome.
everything's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
back in my mind. But yeah, it's bizarre talking about it. But yeah, probably those.
Okay. Let's talk about the voice. Yeah. So what
Yes.
was that like? The auditioning and making it up to the final.
It was the voice as a whole was amazing. Like it was just the best opportunity for a kid like me at the time. I was so innocent. I didn't know anything about the industry. My first time really performing in front of a crowd was on national TV. Um, and looking back, it's so like bittersweet to me because like I just see such a nervous, shy, like so insecure, like kid who like whenever someone told me that I was good, I would just burst out crying because I feel like every time like in school it wasn't celebrated for a guy to be a singer like or anything. Like it's like you got bullied for it So I think going on The Voice and having the affirmation from people like Jennifer Hudson, and it just was mind blowing. But it was a surreal experience and an amazing stepping stone in my journey. And I think that's probably why a lot of people know who I am from that journey. And I think because I did cry so much on the show, I think I showed people that like this is just a normal kid trying to do it, and it was really unexpected. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how like people need like validation from like public like celebrities to treat people well. I mean, why were you being bullied as a
Uh,
from singing, man?
I
Like,
think I think definitely. No, I don't know if it's like it now, but if you were a singer, you got called girly or you got called
oh, I see,
gay or
like some
um. I,
toxic masculinity kind of thing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like, it was. And do you know what? Like being girly, being gay, whatever you want to be is like fine. Like whatever you
Mm,
want to be. But back then, it was like scary. Like if like
mm.
people were to like be rude to you, and honestly, it just like took my love away from music when I was in school. So I just like
Did
didn't
you have
do
to hide
anything.
it?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
didn't sing at all.
Wow, man.
And if I went to choir, I would hide under the table so none of my friends saw me in the room. But yeah, it was weird because like there's so many teachers that knew me from primary school, and there was like I said, I got offered like scholarships, and
Mm-hmm.
teachers would be like, "Why are you like wasting your talent away? Like, why are you listening to them?" But as a kid, you just don't know any better,
Yeah,
so you just want
yeah.
to be the cool. And all my friends were like rugby players and football
Oh, I
players,
see. Yeah.
so I didn't really want to stand out. So I was just like, I'll just fit in and just.
But it kept calling you back, man.
I know.
Like
I
it
was
just
like,
kept.
but and then like you said, like it kept calling me back. So there's so many times where it probably shouldn't have happened to me, but I just kept going for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd post Facebook videos and I'd post anything I could just to get my name out there. And even if they were really bad, I just wanted to prove to people that like passion is also just a talent that you can
Mm-hmm.
craft. And I don't know. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I think that's really inspirational for other people to hear, like kind of like you. I mean, if there's someone at the BPO offices next door scrolling through music articles too,
Yeah.
I mean, was it the people in your life who pushed you to try something new and trying to step out of your comfort zone, or?
I think honestly, like I love where I come from, like so much, but at the same time, it's like a land of no opportunity. And I think if you're from where I'm from, you stay where I'm from, and it's like a cycle. You have kids at a young age, and then you just stay in you stay in a box. And I know that's good for some people, but for me, I just kind of want to step out and prove to people that just because you're more than the street that you grew up on. And I think that was just something my mum always taught me, like, you're so much more than this. Like, keep going. Like, and my mum and dad would just like sit out my room for hours just listening to me sing. And seeing their belief in me was so apparent. And I was like, I just got to keep going for them. And I wanted to give my mum a better life. I wanted to give my dad a better life, my sisters a better life. And I think just by doing what I'm doing right now, and they're able to see that there is more to the world than just my hometown. So.
Yeah. Did you see some support from your hometown when you were on The Voice
Are you
UK? That must have been
kidding me?
big.
Yeah, it was like every billboard. I went back to my school on the final, and just thousands of screaming kids just like going crazy, it was really heartwarming.
Yeah,
Like to go
yeah.
back and to where I had such a negative experience turned into such a positive one, because I think when someone does it in a way like me, just like people saying, "Oh, that's just Jamie from around the corner." I think everybody was like, "Okay, like music isn't
Yeah.
girly. If you're
Yeah,
not, it's not.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be like what anybody thinks it is." Like Justin Bieber, right? Everybody
Mm.
was like, if you listen to Justin Bieber, like I'm like, come on, like Justin Bieber's so freaking cool. Like,
Music's cool, man.
yeah.
Come on,
So
yeah.
it was really cool to like go back and me to say to like the dudes, like, who
Yeah.
wants to be a singer? And then everybody be like,
Yeah, yeah.
so that
Because
was
maybe that's where the bullying was coming from. Because it was like, maybe there was like this insecurity of
oh
that,
yeah, for sure.
am I gonna spend the rest of my life here or whatever, or
Yeah.
and you were like someone who kind of proved that that could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue with The Voice. I kind of want to touch up on that because I looked it up online, and the YouTube video said insecure 19-year-old boy quits his job and becomes a real superstar in The Voice. It's a very
Oh
clickbaity
my-
title, but
And then the picture is just me crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, they did me so dirty on that one.
but it's like millions of views, and
Yeah.
because it's a redemption arc in a short YouTube video,
Yeah.
right? Where what do you think's changed since then, man? Like, were you able to kind of corral this confidence that,
Yeah.
from that Jamie back then?
Yeah, definitely. I feel Jennifer Hudson said to me, if you don't believe in yourself, no one's gonna ever believe in you.
Mm,
And like she said it in like a serious tone. And I think
that's
because
gonna
like
stick, man. That's
yeah,
gonna
she
stick.
and it did stick because hearing your idol say that to you, but in a serious tone, just to let you know that you're good enough. I knew it was coming from like a good place, but every time I'd go into the room with her, I'd just be so emotional. And I think it's just because I just didn't think at the time I deserved to be there. Just because like there was so much talent and there was so many people didn't get through, and I was going through, and I was like, why is this like happening? And she looked at me and she was like, you deserve to be here. Like you deserve this spot. There was weeks where I had like 20,000 more votes than anybody else. Like, and I was just like looking at that and I'm like, how like people like me like that? I'm like, what? So like it was definitely a confidence boost and something that I've taken with me after The Voice and going into my career now with labels and songs that I'm putting out that are doing well, and seeing myself finally as an artist that people like and listen to is like it's been like a weird adjustment, but like something that now I'm like, okay, like it's happening. And but The Voice definitely brought me a stepping stone and one that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, you mentioned there was like a dip after The Voice before the
Yeah.
Chloe. That must have been an interesting part too. Were you thinking like, okay, back to normal life after this
Yeah, I
competition?
was so basically when I was on The Voice in a call center in Cardiff, they have to give your position to someone else if you leave for a certain amount of time.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, I came off The Voice and I was reapplying for jobs, like just normal. And I remember one night I was sitting on the couch with my mum and I was just like, I just don't think this is like gonna work out for me. And then the next day, Khloe Kardashian posted about me, and my mum came into I'm again emotional, like just thinking back about it. I've never talked about this, and my mum coming into the room screaming at like, I don't even know why I'm getting emotional, but just my sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I've never talked about this before.
Take your time, man. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my mum coming into the room at like 5 a.m. saying like she didn't even know who Khloe Kardashian was, and it just went so viral. And that day, I had like 12 record label offers, and just like
that
going,
day.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So going from sitting on the couch the night beforehand to like then having that moment was like a very special moment for me. So, and then the next day I was on a flight to New York City. So, and like it's true. Like I think that's why when people say like, what advice can you give to anybody? I'm just like, it can really just happen to anybody. Like, and if I could tell one thing to myself, I'd just be like, it's gonna be fine. Like, you're gonna be okay. Stop putting too much pressure on yourself. And I see a lot of artists now that come up to me and I see how unconfident they are and how insecure they are. And I'm just like, dude, just believe in yourself. Like, I promise you, if you believe in yourself, it's always gonna happen. Like, and it will. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you show that you allow yourself that emotional vulnerability. Because I mean, I guess the initial reaction is like,
Yeah.
don't look at me, but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it affects the music you make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coming from that place.
Honestly, I've never talked about that before. Just like thinking back, I'm just like, wow, that's like so cool. So yeah,
Because
thank
it's
you.
a crazy turn of events. I mean, coming from The Voice, and then you think, oh, maybe I'll just go back to normal life, and
Yeah.
getting that. I mean, 12 in a day, 12 record label.
Yeah. And it's so crazy, like to happen from one post. From like,
Yeah.
but it was also like, okay, like people are into this. And
Did you ever get to talk to her or
weirdly,
thank her?
I sent her flowers first
Uh-huh.
of all to say thank you. Probably like she's probably the worst flowers she's ever received. But we literally one day before I left for Manila, her brother reached out to me,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "You're amazing," and he was telling me about Chloe, and then I invited them to my LA show, and they're gonna come.
Oh, that's
So
gonna be a full circle moment, man.
yeah, and it was like one of those moments for me that I was just like, wow. So yeah, it was crazy.
Oh man. I mean, just talking about your backstory, there's so many turns. I mean, it's like a movie, man, or something.
It
So
is. It looked like even speaking about, it, I'm like, whoa, there was so yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. So after that, so you flew to the States.
Yeah.
How did you end up in LA?
So I was meeting with labels when I first went to New York, and then I ended up going to Nashville for like a month or two.
Hmm. I was a
Um,
country music fan. Hmm.
yes. I was just like recording my own music to see the labels just wanted to see what they were dealing with and stuff like that. So I was just trying to create a few music pieces on my own, and then very terrible music, and I shouldn't have been signed from the music that I was writing, but they ended up signing me. Started to go to London, moved to London for a little bit, working on the project, and then just because my whole team was American, it just didn't make sense for me to be in the UK anymore, and the time zones and the differences and everything was just crazy. So
Hmm.
they said, "Did you want to go to LA? Did you want to move to LA?" And at the time, I was like, I don't think I want to move away from home, my family, my everything that I knew. And but then I was something telling me, I was like, if this is an opportunity that I passed, I would have been crazy.
Hmm.
So it was like one of the moments where I was just like, bite the bullet, just go, see what it's like. And I was only meant to go there for 3 months, and then I ended up staying for like this is my 6th year.
Oh
So
yeah.
and my friends in LA and like they just feel like family. It feels the most home
Hmm.
that I've ever felt, and it's like just everything. So like my music there and the producers that I've worked with, I'm so lucky to work with it. Like it's just home. So that's
Yeah.
how I ended up
Yeah.
in LA.
That's kind of when you know that risk when there's a little bit of fear in there.
Yeah,
It seems like a
yeah,
risk worth taking.
exactly. And I was like, again, like fast forward 10 years, and I'm saying to myself, like, why didn't I just go to that to see? And I didn't want to be left with what ifs. So
Hmm.
I just went, and it was the best decision of my life. So
I'm also personally curious about LA. So I work in filmmaking.
yeah.
I'm a director. I was talking to Drew earlier
Oh
with the
yeah.
camera. I was asking, hey, I have some friends who are production in LA,
Cool,
and
man.
I've been there. I went there for a shoot actually like a few years ago, and there's just like this creative energy. I guess
Yeah.
on one spectrum it could be a little too much pressure to make it, and but on the like maybe like in a sweet middle, it's kind of inspiring to be
Yeah.
around
Definitely.
different artists. Do you have the
Definitely.
same experience?
Definitely inspiring. Um. Definitely a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I realized last year after I like when I said I took some time off. You always have this like. I feel like you always have this pressure to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like no pun intended. But for real, like it's just like you have to get up, you have to make sure you look good. And I think for me, my motto is I feel like LA's motto is like everyone against each other. But I'm just like there's room for everybody. Like, and I feel like there is room for everybody, and I don't know why people think that they have to like step on people to get to where they want to get to. And for me, I am in a place now in life where I have a small group of friends, a small group of people that I work with, and that's just how I like it. And it's taken a while, and I feel like for a long time I was like, I need a million friends. I need to be liked by everybody. I need to be loved by everybody. I need to impress everybody in the room. But I'm just like, God, it's so tiring. It's so tiring to be something that you're not for so long. And said to myself this year, if someone doesn't like you, someone doesn't like you. If they don't like your music, they don't like your music. And it's not meant, you're not meant to be for everybody's cup of tea. And I think the minute I let that burden just go, I was like, life is so much better.
Man,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
that's
really
so good.
is.
I think it's because of your humble background, man. Like
Yeah,
you didn't kind of come in there thinking like, hey, everybody,
yeah,
look at me, and maybe that's how you found your tribe. How everyone kind of shared the same kind of values.
exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, again, just a normal kid doing what he loves to do and seeing where it takes him. So,
So I saw that like even people in LA like big stars like Sam Smith, Kelly Clarkson, Pink, they all kind of
Yeah.
gain attention even from Jisoo from Blackpink, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you still get starstruck when you
Um,
when you see those the
I
kind of
think,
praise.
I think, yes, I think so. I think in the back of my brain, there's always that little kid with excitement. But also like you're in an industry where you can't get too excited now,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
definitely so honored for people like that to reach out to me and tell me that like my work is good or whatever they say. But Kelly Clarkson is a huge one for me. She's probably one of
Mm-hmm.
the main reasons that I wanted to be a singer. So I met her, went to her show, and that was probably the highlight of my career. Like just scrolling in your DMs and seeing Sam Smith's name, I'm like,
Damn, dude.
what is my life, man? But definitely, and then Jisoo, Jisoo is incredible. We became friends through. I did a OST for her drama
Mm-hmm.
drama show, so we kind of just became connected through that. And she's so lovely, and I feel like so lovely, and she's like always so supportive of my work now. And likewise with her, I think she's incredible. I think Blackpink are absolutely amazing. Would love to do something with them one day.
Hey, Blackpink, if you're listening.
Yeah, Blackpink in
I
the
mean, they listen to
area.
the podcast a lot, so
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I wish.
I love that.
Um, I
No,
mean, it must be crazy how your world has opened up, man, from Cardiff to not only LA, but it's like a global thing. And here's
yeah.
your perfect blew up in Asia, right?
Hmm.
Like, did you I probably didn't expect that, but what was it like when you heard the news that,
Dude, honestly, the song has done like 1 billion streams, right? Just to put it into perspective,
billion, dude.
I think in the United States it did like 50 million, and then in Asia the rest. Like that is how crazy that the song blew up. Didn't expect it. Honestly, got told not to put it out. They said it would ruin my career. Yeah, they
Oh my
actually did. Like
God.
this is like something that's so true. Like they were so against it. Everybody was like, if you want a career, you shouldn't put this song out. And then it was so funny because I would go behind everybody's back and I'd sing the big riff on TikTok. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. And to my luck, it became a challenge, like the high, and it was
Here's your
like,
perfect challenge.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and everybody just hopped on it, and that's the reason it came out. I remember Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes following me after the challenge, and I just said to my label at the time, and I was like, look, there's people like this big of a celebrity is like following me after this. Like, let's just put it out.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like proof of concept.
yeah, proof
Yeah.
of concept, definitely proof of concept. I did like a whole spiel on why it should come out.
Wow.
And then I said, if it fails, it fails, and you can drop me. I said that. I was like, if it fails, you can drop me. And if it doesn't, then you just have to take it as you were wrong. And honestly, I was maybe a bit scared on the first week because it didn't do as well as I
Oh shit.
thought
Yeah.
it was. It wasn't doing great. And then from one day, it went from like 50,000 streams. The next day, 1 million streams in one day, and
That's
I was
crazy.
like, wow, this is happening. So yeah.
Wow, man. And I guess it must have taken some bravery on your end to tell your producers at that time. I mean, because, you were still pretty new to the industry and
So new.
people from up on top were telling you not to do something.
Yeah, and honestly, just full transparency. Here's Your Perfect was the first song I ever wrote in my career. In terms of like, I put out music beforehand. It wasn't my music. It was written for me. Still love the music, but I think Here's Your Perfect hit different because it was my words. It was my
Mm.
words from a journal. And I remember writing the words. I remember the day. Even wrote down the date that I fell for you. And in my room, I was like, I remember the day. And I remember sending it to my friend Salem, and then we just like I took it to her house, and we just like scoped out the whole thing in like 2 hours, and then yeah, it just became Here's Your Perfect.
That's crazy, man. I think, yeah, when you write something from the heart, it just kind of changes, it really makes a mark, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about songwriting quickly. So, I do want to talk about the collaboration with Salem later, but
Yep.
what kind of songwriter are you? Would you say are you the one? Well, over the past few years, over writing more songs, are you the
Mhm.
type to kind of like sit down and bust out a lot of songs, or are you are the type to kind of just like simmer in life and just like write something on the side and extract songs from those later on?
Um, I write probably every day. Even on my
Every
trip
day?
here in Manila, I'm
Are you
just like,
big a journal guy?
yeah, huge
Mm.
journal guy. I brought my journal with me, and I think especially this year, like after taking time off last year and just like going into the studio, I think I've been so honest this year. It's like this project, they're like the things that I left and said. It was like the most honest I've ever been in anything that
Your upcoming EP?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to give people like a part of Jamie that is not real like anymore. And I felt like I was for a long time, and I was like trying to be what the industry deems as like this is how it should be. And I was like, after going through some like mental health like difficulties and stuff like that, I was like, it's time for me to be honest, man. I was like, we all go through it. We all go through depression. We all go through heartache. We all go through love. We all go through everything that music is. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for me, that was just like an important thing for me to finally be honest. So I would say I'm one of those people who just like takes charge in terms of like what they're writing about, especially this year, just
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show people Jamie, not just Jamie, here's your perfect, that always tries to look pristine and always tries to be perfect. And I think the minute I started being honest with the world and myself is when I started finally living life the
Mm.
right way, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think when you're talking about that, I couldn't help but think about No Matter What, which is like one of my favorite songs, man. It's
Dude,
so
thank you so much.
powerful.
I appreciate it.
Like when those the choir vocals come in, it's like a you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a song I wrote to myself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that is a special song to me because I felt like it was a song that I wrote when I was depressed. Like in terms of even on the dark days, I'm not giving up on you. I'm here no matter what. And there's so many times like not to get too sad that I did want to give up and just like have a normal life and go back to Cardiff with my mum and dad and just throw the towel in, I guess. But then there was another side of my mind just being like, don't give up. Like everything's gonna be fine. Gonna be here for you. And I felt like just knowing that if I didn't give up, then no one loses, and I only lose if I do give up. So that was a little message I wrote to myself, and it sounds like a love song. So
Mm.
people were like playing it at weddings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the way that I marketed it too, I was like, send this to the person you love. But I think the music video is special to me because I've got to tell the story of like my whole life and like speaking to my younger self. And I don't know if you've seen the video, but it's a special one to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounds like a song that you only could have written if you came from like a dark place yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's no like fakeness to it. It's like exactly what you need to hear. Even the melodies
Yeah.
and the way you produced it,
Oh,
it's
thanks, man.
uplifting. You know, that's really the adjective for that.
Yeah, I wrote a lyric in it. It was like, I know you're hearing voices in your head, but darling, don't believe them, because crying's just the sound of a heartbreak healing. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember writing that, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of a
Yeah,
bar.
yeah, yeah,
Like I feel
yeah.
like a rapper at this point. But yeah, no, that was like, it was the easiest song that I've ever written. I was just like, I banged it out in like
Uh-huh.
2 hours, and yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I love the stuff on TikTok too, where like you sing harmonies with different singers. It's so
Yeah,
powerful, you know. It's just something
thanks.
about a human voice that just kind of, you know,
Brings them
has
like a little
this.
bit of home. Like it
Yeah,
feels like,
yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Um, let's like do a segue on producing music. Like when you work in the studio,
Yeah.
you come from such a personal place. Like
Yeah.
it's literally lines from your journal, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you put it in the studio. Um, yeah, what's your mindset when you're working with the studio? I guess you must work with like people you trust, right? The
Yeah,
producers.
I actually like, so everyone thinks I go to like this like bougie recording studio, and I have had those moments, and I don't like it. So my friends have a house, and I just go over there, and it's so calming. It's like just like so many nice lights in the backyard, and there's like a grass overlooking a view, and it's just I feel safe there in a weird way. And we just write, and before we write, like there's no pressure to write a song, but we just talk. We all say what's on our mind that day, and they're like we normally just have like a little therapy session beforehand, and then we go into the studio around the piano, and we just like all start spitting out ideas. And even with No Matter What, it was just like they were just playing this music, and then I just started singing, and we all just came up with it. in a couple of hours. But I think it always starts around a piano and just having like conversations like this one. Like even when I started getting emotional earlier, we don't expect it. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that, but that's just how it is. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like normal and like, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess it starts from being like, open, trying to listen too. I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing, right?
And just hearing like other people know that they're going through some stuff too
Yeah.
makes you feel
Yeah.
less like scared about stuff, you know?
Yeah. I always like that when I'm trying to like talk to someone about a problem and that person just listens. It's not like, no, like I have to give advice or anything. It's just like, just to be able to voice it out to someone is already a huge thing.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool, man. Like having a safe space where you can be creative. I
Mhm.
think that's always what I think a lot of creatives on the show, aspire to reach. Like having that safe space to
Yeah.
create. Because I come from advertising,
Okay.
and it's very different because it's a lot of corporate incentives,
Oh.
and when you shoot something, it's a commercial.
Right.
The goal is to make money,
Mm-hmm.
profit. So everyone kind of chimes in with like all these like sterile notes, But
Totally
when
get
I'm
it.
shooting like a music video for a band I really love, or like a short film with friends or a skit, and
Yeah.
everyone's laughing on set, like it's different, man. The
Yeah.
energy's totally different.
Yeah, when there's no pressure or like goals to hit, like goals are always fun to hit, but like when there's just like when you're just having fun, it takes everything else away and it makes it
hmm
more worth it, you know?
Maybe let's just touch upon, I guess, just being like a musician in this day and age, because everything from your story, there's like so much interesting nuggets of wisdom there. I mean, there's a lot of randomness, but there's also risks that you took, like singing "Here's Your Perfect," putting it out on TikTok. Um, yeah, what kind of advice could you give to like younger musicians of this day and age that kind of have to balance, making a good song versus putting it out so that that song will be heard,
Mm-hmm.
because that's always the balance. It's like,
It is,
I'm
yeah.
good, but how do I get ears to
Mhm.
this song,
I think like honestly, like authenticity now is so key. Like trying to be someone else that you're not, it doesn't work anymore. Like there's
Mhm.
no, you can't make pop stars anymore. You can't make like it just the times have changed. So I feel like if you're just honest, like and if you believe in the music enough to like know that you can sell it by telling the real story or like why you wrote it or like I think that's just the one thing that's helped me is just like being honest. Like rather than being afraid to be honest or trying to be like so pristine, like trying to do a TikTok and like trying to
Mhm.
be so perfect. It just doesn't. It's not real. Like it's just not. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we try so hard to be perfect when we are not made to be perfect. Like we're not. And I think we always see the highlight reels on Instagram of like that's so cool, but you don't see the
Mhm.
like what it took to get to that point. Do you know what I mean? And I think I would just say like be consistent, be honest, be authentic, be you, and believe in yourself. And you just have to, if it doesn't happen one day, it's going to keep just going and you just got to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, we get this a lot on the show because social media is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? It's like you need it as a tool to promote yourself, but
Yeah.
also it's like you see other people in your field, other musicians, other creatives, like, oh, he's doing so well. When am I gonna reach that point or whatever?
Yeah.
And at the same time, some people are super shy to like put themselves out there.
Yeah.
What helped you to find that authenticity and be yourself in like a sea of other creatives who are just
Yeah. I would say like the things that I used to hate about myself, like the people that I surrounded myself, like loved those things about me. And it was like so interesting to like see that. And like I said, I was so insecure about probably everything in my life just because I just again like didn't expect any of this. But I think when you're just 100% you and you surround yourself by good people and you surround yourself by people who like believe in your talents, it's like the mindset just switches and you're not putting yourself down because you're not around people who think anything that you're dreaming is crazy and like they celebrate that. And I don't even know if I'm answering this question correctly, but I think what was the
yeah,
question?
it is. I
Yeah.
mean, just kind of helping. How do you find that confidence to put yourself out there?
Oh yeah, just like surrounding myself with good people who
Yeah.
like hype me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and family who says like, "Oh yeah, that's amazing,
Yeah.
Jay." Like that's amazing. Or friends being like, "Yeah, post that." I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I think just
Social
like,
support is key,
social
man.
support,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely. And I think that's just one thing that's changed my mindset. And like when I put the phone on record, I'm like, okay, they think it's good. Like I know in my heart that I feel like it's good. So yeah.
Okay. So tell me where you're at now, man. You're now in Asia. You're in Manila, on the other side of the world.
Yep.
And where are you looking forward to in this career? It's like you're confirmed. Like you're really good. You're putting out all these songs that inspire people. I mean, people. I've seen people, retweet even like no matter what all
Mhm.
the other songs. People like, they make it part of their life's milestones and are
Yeah.
really inspired by it. So where do you are you gonna take your career now, or where are you hoping to
um,
go?
I would say like my goal is to do a world tour next year. And that's like a huge goal of mine
Mm-hmm.
since I started off singing. While I'm here in Manila, I just want to meet so many people, like so many fans that have helped change my life. I'm really here like to meet fans and just give back. I'm not charging for anything. Like I just wanted to come here and just say thank you. Like I feel like so many times people don't travel across the world because it's so far. But for me, I was like, I want to get on that plane and I want to hug and I want to take pictures and I want to thank everybody just for changing my life because I honestly wouldn't be here without it. So, after Manila, I'm going back to the US and I'm gonna go on tour. I'm doing a 2 month tour in North America, and then gonna take a little bit of time off for Christmas, and then hopefully by next year gonna be announcing that I'm gonna be coming back to Manila and doing a
Okay.
huge concert. So that's the goal.
Yeah.
And
Concert and then beach.
yeah,
Yeah.
concert and then
Yeah,
beach for
yeah.
sure. So hopefully that happens.
Okay. Well, I just want to wrap up by asking one of the questions I like asking on the podcast to many different creatives,
Yeah.
and it's a question about failure. Usually we kind
Mm-hmm.
of shy away from the concept of failure,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's a lot of failures in our lives that kind of eventually led up to a potential success, or like led you towards growth,
Yeah.
in a certain way. So, is there anything that comes to mind when you think of like a favorite failure, quote unquote, or
Yeah, there is. Before The Voice, dude, I can't even count how many times I got no's. Like so many no's. I auditioned for every TV show you could possibly imagine, and I never made it through to like the TV rounds just because, like, come back next year, or you're not good enough, or not you're not good enough for this season, but like come back and try again. And honestly, like my mom always used to say, like, why aren't you sad? Because I'm like, it's just not the right time. Like, and I feel
Mm,
like for me, I always saw no's as more ammunition, I would say.
mm,
And I was just like, okay, if they don't think I'm good enough now, I'll just keep working on it. I'll keep honing on my craft and I'll try again. If that's a no, I'll try again. And I think by the time I went on The Voice, I probably counted like 50 no's.
wow, man.
And I think that's why I got very emotional because I was like, fuck yeah, it's my finally I got a
Finally,
yes,
yeah.
like finally. So no, I would definitely say it's important to fail because it makes the success all the more better. So if you are failing, don't worry. It's gonna be fine.
Jamie, thanks for that. I think a lot of people needed to hear that. That's something
Thank
I
you.
guess people don't assume that successful people go through, but
Yeah.
there you have it. Jamie, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
You're the
appreciate you too.
best. Thank you so much. I'm sorry that I cried.
No,